Sure, it's February, but in the Wild, Wild West, any head-to-head competition is going to resemble a playoff game. The Spurs and Timberwolves seem to conjure up an undeniable intensity. It's a contrast of styles, a contrast of ages, but the bottom line, always a lot of fun. So settle in, enjoy the ride as the Spurs take on the Timberwolves in the Wild, Wild West.
The Wild, Wild West.
From the Target Center in Minneapolis, the start of a very serious weekend for the San Antonio Spurs. Game 3 of the season series with the Minnesota Timberwolves. A Midwest Division opponent, and the T-Wolves only 2.5 games off the division lead held by the Spurs and the Utah Jazz. Hi, everybody. Joel Myers along with PJ Carlissimo, and welcome once again to Spurs basketball. Playoff atmosphere tonight in Minneapolis for Game 3 of the 4-game season series. And what a start for the weekend. 3 games in 4 days.
Very, very difficult road trip, and this has been an impossible building for the Spurs. They've lost 5 in a row to Minnesota. Minnesota, before the All-Star break, the hottest team in the league. They'd won 11 in a row. 2 tough losses on the road, but this is a tall order, and as you said, a very difficult starting place.
Spurs red hot, taking 10 of their last 11. We caught up with the Admiral David Robinson earlier today, asked him if he saw any similarities with this squad and the championship team of 1999.
A lot of the characteristics of this team remind me of the championship team, because you have to have a bunch of guys who are playing good basketball to be able to win. And it looks like a lot of the guys, we're going about 10 deep, that guys are playing extremely well. So that's the good news. But the injuries have tested our depth.
I like the way he said it, because it sounds like to him the cup is always half full, not half empty. Tested the depth. Well, anytime the two teams get together, it is the best game on the slate in the NBA, and that's because Tim Duncan's going up against Kevin Garnett.
The matchup is unbelievable at the power forward position. The numbers don't even begin to tell the problem. Kevin Garnett is so difficult to guard. He can put the ball on the floor. He can shoot 3-point shots. He's a shot blocker. What he really is a 7-foot small forward. Last year he averaged over 20 points a game, over 10 rebounds a game, over 5 assists a game, and he was first team all defense. I mean, how tough a matchup is that for anybody? He's a complete player. He really tests you. He's also a great leader. He's matured so much. The ability to pass the ball is what I think a lot of people don't realize, just what a great passer he is. He's really a special player.
Well, PJ, we can only hope that Game 3 turns out as entertaining and as close as the first 2 between these two teams, and especially the result like Game 1, where the Spurs won it at home behind Derek Anderson's 29. The next one, heartbreak in overtime. Garnett came through in a big way as we come right back to the Target Center. Welcome back once again to very chilly Minneapolis. Got up this morning, it was below 0. Midday, it reached 8 degrees, and fortunately, we don't work in an outdoors sport. Minnesota Timberwolves owning the longest winning streak in the NBA this year, an 11-game run right before the All-Star break. Since then, they have dropped 2 straight, but 2 real quality teams on the road. First, Portland, who's been dominating everybody, and then Phoenix, who's not too shabby at home either.
No, in a game they could have won the other night, clearly.
Southwest Airlines starting 5. For the Spurs, Derek Anderson's going to get the start instead of Danny Ferry for matchup purposes. TJ's going to be talking about that in just a moment. Down at the baseline with Tim and David. Terry Porter, Antonio Daniels in the backcourt. And for the Minnesota Timberwolves, this lineup has their best record. They've had 8 different combinations. Serbiak, Garnett, Nesterovic, Peeler, and Brandon. Kevin Garnett, 13th in scoring in the NBA. So quick for a guy, and we just saw another one for Dallas. A little bit thicker, though. Nowitzki, Dirk Nowitzki. Very similar, though, the way he can go to the basket, like Garnett, put her to the floor.
They're similar, but this is the real deal right there.
You said it. So Kevin Garnett starting for the 3rd time, 3rd consecutive time in the All-Star game, 4th overall appearance. And Marianne Hauk of San Antonio, our Southwest Airlines 3-point shootout contestant. She has selected Derek Anderson. And if Derek connects on the Spurs' first 3-pointer, Marianne receives free air travel for 2 on Southwest Airlines. So good luck, Marianne Hauk. Hope Derek has a dozen for you tonight. And PJ, your Dodge keys to victory.
Well, field goal percentage defense is always critical, but against Minnesota, they've shot 48% against the Spurs in the first 2 games. So the #3 defensive team in the league, San Antonio, has really got to defend. Free throws could be a concern. Minnesota, #2 in the league, they shoot 80%. When it's a close game, it comes down to free throws, and I think this is going to be a close game. And the Target Center, we talked about it in the open, very unfriendly. Minnesota's won 6 straight themselves coming into tonight, but they've beaten the Spurs 5 consecutive times here in the Target Center.
Spurs lead the overall series by 22 games, but as you mentioned, they're 19-7 at home. They've taken 6 consecutive games at home. They try to snap the 2-game losing streak, and believe it or not, they've done better against the Western Conference, the tougher conference at home. 12-3 here on their home floor, as opposed to the Eastern Conference, 7-4 so far at the Target Center. Derek Anderson on a nice move against Wally Szczerbiak. Good look. Duncan knocked it out of bounds. It'll belong to Minnesota. Evans, Wunderlich, and Derek Richardson, the 3 on the floor. With whistles.
Wally Szczerbiak came with a quick double team that time and left DA open. If he's going to double team, Derek Anderson's going to get some good looks.
Derek Anderson had 29 in the first meeting between the 2 teams on November 2nd. Then later that same month here at the Target Center, it was Garnett. 2 huge buckets as Tim Duncan gets Garnett. Tim can't believe they called it that early. Garnett slipped into him. And Garnett with the opportunity for the 3-point play.
Well, I'd like to get a better look at this replay. Derek Richardson made the call, but I thought KG initiated the contact. You'll see him right here. Tim doesn't leave his feet. He bumps him. Pretty good job by Kevin Garnett. Not as bad a call as I thought. You could see the contact was there. Garnett did a good job. Made the contact with the shoulder, then made the jump shot.
So an early foul on Tim Duncan. Tim's solid performances against this team. He had 24 in one game, 22 in the other. 24 in the win at home when he was 10 of 15 from the field. Garnett, though, he had 32 in the last one, the overtime victory. Tim answers on a beautiful sweeper through the middle.
Well, there's your tone right there. Both basically as good as these guys both are defensively, and they're probably the 2 best forwards defensively in the league. Can't stop each other. They're just too good. They're going to get their points.
What about the help from David Robinson?
That can be the difference in the game, because where the Spurs are a much better defensive team is just that they have other people that play. Kevin Garnett is a great defender. Tim Duncan is a great defender. But the Spurs have a lot of people that play defense. Minnesota can't make that statement.
Tim Duncan against Kevin Garnett, jumping it over. Derek Anderson leaving it off. David drawing the foul, doesn't get the roll. He'll go to the line to shoot 2. Boy, they're sharing the basketball early against a team, the Minnesota Timberwolves, that's 3rd best in the NBA in assist to turnover ratio.
And #2 in the league, I believe, in assists. They've been in the top 3 in the league in assists the past 3 years. Minnesota really moves the ball well. They have a lot of people. Kevin Garnett, to me, how about he's averaging 4.7 assists, Joel, and that's down from last year. Last year he was 20, 10, and 5. I mean, that's like Oscar Robertson numbers.
He had his 5th career triple-double earlier this year against the Pistons. So he does a little bit of everything as David gets 1 of 2. The Admiral ties it up at 3.
Free throws will be big tonight, because I expect this to be a close game.
And this is a very good free throw shooting team, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Szczerbiak trying to post up. Derek Anderson. Szczerbiak getting inside, can't finish though, and Szczerbiak comes into the game, #3 in the NBA in field goal percentage. And this is a guy that most of the time is shooting out on the perimeter.
That was his problem there. He can't shoot him that close. He needs to be 20 feet away.
Tim Duncan, #4 in the league in field goal percentage, just behind Szczerbiak. Good shot look, and Derek Anderson off the mark for the 2nd time this evening. 0 for 2 for DA so far. A little more than 2 minutes gone by. Takeaway, Terry Porter, can he save it? The former T-Wolf? Yes, but it's picked up by Terrell Brandon. No reset of the shot clock, though. It's inside of 7. Brandon by Daniels. Brandon gets it. Terrell Brandon, it's interesting the way things work in this league. He played and was effective in the first game when the Spurs won. He was out with an ankle sprain in the second game, which the Timberwolves won.
Both Anthony Peeler and Chauncey Billups really stepped up and had unbelievable games. Boy, I tell you, Minnesota doing a lot of doubling. There's going to be a lot of perimeter jump shots for the San Antonio Spurs if they move it.
Garnett with the rejection. And will it be a charge? Derek Anderson accepted it. Got in front of Anthony Peeler. Boy, that was a tough one to take, too. Barely got there in time.
AP really had it going, but again, he was like a freight train. He wasn't going to change direction. Did a real good job stepping in front, and referee Hugh Evans right on the call. DA just saw it coming, no question. We talked about the doubles, Joel. I think they're going to continue to double David and Tim, and that means 1 or 2 quick passes. The perimeter jump shot will be there.
David clearing out for Tim, backing his way in. Tim gets rid of it, doesn't get the roll. David didn't get the tip. Good try at the offensive end, though.
That time it was Nesterovic with the double team.
Inside Garnett, held by Derek Anderson. He'll go to the line to shoot 2. Good entry pass, though, and a very quick one.
Minnesota got the ball up the floor quickly. They're a good running team. I want to say a great running team, but they're clearly a much better offensive team than a defensive team. And I think that's the one thing maybe holding Minnesota back right now. They're a very, very good team, but to become an elite team, they've got to become a little bit better defensively. And Flip Saunders is well aware of that. And some of the other players have just got to buy into that a little bit more. Wally Serbiak is really playing well for a second-year player, but at times he really struggles on the defensive end.
Garnett gets 1 of 2. T-Wolves lead early by 3. Garnett, over his last 7 games, averaging almost 26 a contest, hitting 53%. And he's got 13 double-doubles over the last 16 games. So the Spurs, a small lineup for matchup purposes. Derek Anderson in the curl. Tough start for Derek, 0 for 3. And pretty good looks.
Good looks, all good looks. You see he wants to attack Wally Serbiak, which is a good idea, but he's got to finish the play.
Anderson just got his second, so Derek Anderson with 2 early fouls and a struggle at the offensive end to boot.
Looking over at the bench, Greg Popovich looking down at the floor, trying to make a decision right now. Pop's getting up. I think he's going to get somebody in.
Danny Ferry, most likely.
Yep.
6 Spurs in double figures in the win last night over the Wizards. Fortunately for the Spurs, as Danny will take over, and Danny got the start last night. Fortunately for the Spurs, all the regulars were out of the lineup with 3 minutes left in the 3rd quarter. So they got to rest their legs a little bit last night, the big guys especially.
No question. I like the small lineup that Pop started with. I really like those matchups. Unfortunately, the 2 quick fouls, we're going to see a bigger matchup now.
Garnett just inside the 3-point line. Much rather see him out there than around the rim. 4 minutes gone. Spurs still trailing by 3. Spurs 8-1 since Terry Porter moved into the starting lineup. Rejection to Nesterovic as Tim pulled away. Brandon choked off by Antonio Daniels. Solid D. And then Brandon forces it. Terry Porter and then David Robinson following Zerbiak as they locked up. David thought he had locked up, and he thought Terry was going to come over to get that one.
Serbiak is really active inside tonight. You saw Derek Anderson forced to grab him when he flashed through and cut, and that's the 2nd time now he's been active on the offensive boards.
Slow beginning for the Spurs. Only 1 of 8 at the offensive end, fortunately. Not many offensive opportunities, only 2 for 5 for the T-Wolves. Not close. Nesterovic got a hand on it, but Duncan took care of that and went over to Danny Ferry. So we talked about it. The Spurs winning because of defense. It's paying off early here because the offense needs a jump start. Tim Duncan going right by Kevin Garnett. If he gets a roll, goes to the line looking to tie it up at 6 apiece.
What this officiating crew is really letting them bang inside, which is fine because the Spurs can be a physical defensive team themselves. Tim just puts it on the floor, and you see he splits Nesterovic. Had Nesterovic stepped over, he might have gotten the call, but he allowed Tim to get his head and shoulder in between himself and Kevin Garnett, so Tim gets the call. We talked about it being physical, though. The big guys in particular are banging. Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan, Rasho Nesterovic and David Robinson, anytime they try to post up, they're really leaning on each other. And think in the long range, that's going to help the Spurs.
Time out on the floor after the 3-point play for Tim Duncan. He's got 5 to 6 for Pop and the Spurs. Even in the beginning at the Target Center. The Spurs start the road trip at 33-16 after the win over the Wizards last night. Tough weekend. Sunday at Toronto. That'll be on the network. Vince Carter, 4th leading scorer in the NBA. Monday at Milwaukee. Milwaukee, the hottest team over the last 6-8 weeks. As Zerbiak with a good look. Off the mark once again, so he had it inside, now outside. Zerbiak an 0 for 2 start. All he did in the rookie challenge was hit 11 for 13. 5 of 6 from 3-point range. And he took away MVP honors with 27 points.
He's really played well the last month. He stepped it up. He's playing more aggressively.
On the penetration, Terry Porter had it knocked away. Zerbiak, tough catch, blows the layup. Tim Duncan was there. Couldn't hang on to it, though. But Tim had a little something to do with Szczerbiak, I think, missing the layup as well.
Minnesota, you have to take care of the ball. Over 8 steals a game, one of the best marks in the league.
Spurs get it away. Minnesota with a couple of turnovers now. Spurs with 1 turnover. Tim Duncan asking for it. They're not doubling down on Tim. So it's Garnett. And Tim trying to go over Garnett. Tim kept it alive, but it went right to Szczerbiak off the fist of David Robinson. Peter lucky to get across the timeline. That's his game, and it's out of bounds. So both teams really struggling. Spurs 2 of 10. Minnesota 2 of 10. And boy, talk about a futile beginning for both at the offensive
Well,
end.
again, though, if it stays this way, that's to the Spurs' advantage.
Yes.
Minnesota's got to put some points on the board if they're going to win, because the Spurs are going to score eventually. They're just too strong inside. I don't think that's the kind of shot Flip wanted. The way they're struggling, the last thing they need is a quick perimeter jump shot.
Minnesota only 18 and 15 when they score less than 100 points. Back to what you're talking about, that they feed off their offense.
And they're 25 and 2 when they shoot a higher percentage than their opponents, and that's more an offensive stat than a defensive stat. As Antonio Daniels buries one from the perimeter.
Antonio played 30 minutes. He had the most minutes on the floor last night against the Wizards. Good stroke there. Clear out for Garnett. Tim's already got 1 foul. And Garnett a step back. When a guy's 7 feet, what are you going to do to begin with?
Danny Ferry came down with a good double team. Garnett had nowhere to go, so he just squared up and kind of arched back and shot it over the top.
Already Derek Anderson on the bench with a couple of fouls. David Robinson right around Garrett. And David Robinson earning a couple of free throws. Nifty move, and we saw that from David last night against the Wizards. Big guys, too, putting it to the floor and going right by them.
Yeah, they had no one who could match up with David. I think David's going to be a major factor tonight. David Robinson, obviously a factor every game he's in, but I think particularly tonight, I think Duncan and Garnett basically cancel each other out, and that's not minimizing what the 2 of them are going to do, but I think they're both going to get theirs. I think David with the opportunity tonight to really step up against Nesterovic and Dean Garrett, because Szczerbiak is struggling right now. You have the feeling that Terrell Brandon's also going to do the damage there. So I think David perhaps the X factor in this game tonight.
Couple of misses for David at the stripe. He's only 1 of 4 now at the free throw line. Avery Johnson taking over for Terry Porter in the backcourt. Good touch. Peter doesn't capitalize. A break for the Spurs. And when I say touch, Garnett put it right back into the hands of the shooter as quick as a big guy can. Avery 7 of 10. And last night 5 of 6. 7 of 10 on his return. They double the ball. Good recognition. Danny Ferry super look. And Danny Ferry takes care of business for San Antonio. Spurs back up by a couple. 4.5 minutes remaining in the first 12. Danny Ferry only shut out last night from the field, and that's a rarity for the guy that's number 3 right now in the NBA in 3-point field goal percentage. The block almost there. What a move by Kevin Garnett, though, to get it up and over David Robinson in the reverse.
David actually blocked the ball off the board. It just happened to roll in. Kevin Garnett had put the spin on it. He got the lucky roll.
Tim Duncan. Tim so far 2 of 5. Taken away by Peter. Couldn't get it away on the double. Peter hits the trailer, and Garnett makes it look easy.
That's as good a guy as you can leave it for. Garnett on the fly, and he just catches the ball and puts it right in.
4 straight for the T-Wolves. And a 2-point lead for Minnesota. Again,
Minnesota Timberwolves doing a lot of doubling on the ball. You'll watch Avery Johnson put the ball down inside, then he goes through. Anthony Peeler comes immediately now with the double team. Tim recognizes this. Avery flashes back to the free throw line. You'll see Tim locate him. And then Avery does a good thing. He draws Wally Szczerbiak to him. Now he makes one more pass. The result, a wide open jump shot for Danny Ferry. Real good execution on the offensive end by the Spurs. But frankly, there hasn't been enough of that. They've also struggled with the double teams. They need that kind of spacing and ball movement against these traps.
They've got the Spurs down for only 3 turnovers. It seems, though, like more giveaways on deflections before. The recognition of the double team that you're talking about. Antonio Daniels on the dribble penetration one-hander. What a beauty. Antonio Daniels, the confidence is there now. Has 4 points as Chauncey Billups comes into the game for the first time. The former Colorado Buffalo has played for 4 teams. He's at least worn the uniform of 4 teams over the last 3 seasons.
Chauncey Billups, Kevin Garnett. You don't need him to get going from the perimeter, but Chauncey Billups had a great game, 16 points and 13 assists when we were here back in November.
And he has now become the confidant of Kevin Garnett on this squad. Another run and another bucket. Antonio Daniels beating his man out top, drawing the foul, goes to the line looking for the three-point play.
Aggressive move by Antonio. He turned the corner, and then just a careless foul. You see just this little shove. Bad play because it had no effect whatsoever on the shot. All it did was ensure Antonio was either going to get 2 free throws or a chance for a three-point play. Dean Garrett showed, but he didn't stop Antonio. Chauncey with really nothing to do but reach. He should have just let Antonio take the shot, given him a field goal or a miss. Never give him the extra point.
Three-point play makes it a one-point ball game. Antonio Daniels leading the Spurs with 7 so far. Tim Duncan has 5. 2 minutes to play in the opening 12. Samaki Walker matching up with Kevin Garnett. Difficult assignment. Believe it. Phillips, wide open look at 3. The long rebound for Garnett. And another 24 on the shot clock.
Deep rebound. Samaki had pretty good position, but that was a tough rebound to get.
Brandon on the run. Tim Duncan came out, and Garrett didn't bring it down. Now Brandon came back in. He got a break. Fresh 24 and thrown away. Brandon came back in, and it almost looked like he only had 1 foot and the other coming down, but they threw it away anyway. That is the 3rd turnover on the Timberwolves, who had 25 turnovers in the game earlier this week at Portland.
Yeah, surprisingly, in the 2 games that San Antonio and Minnesota have played, they've turned it over an awful lot. Minnesota had 20 turnovers in the 1 game, and they did a better job, but not for them. 14 in the first one. Their team very seldom turns it over, but for whatever reason, they've turned it over a lot against the Spurs.
Tim Duncan grabbed by Peter on the way by. Finally, the whistle comes. Should be a couple of free throws. It will be for Tim Duncan.
What Minnesota's doing, it's causing a little bit of a problem, is they're coming from different angles. I think most teams, you're used to seeing double teams from on top. Tim gets the ball, he's used to people coming down. They're coming off cutters going through, like we saw Avery Johnson in that replay. So I think the angle with which they're coming on a double team is disturbing the Spurs a little bit.
Garnett gets his first breather with 1:17 left in the half. And you know, if I'm not here at the Target Center, you know where I'm at tonight, PK. I'm at Fatso's Sports Garden on Bandera Road for the 99.5 Kiss Road Warriors party. So you've got time to head out there at Fatso's Sports Garden on Bandera. Head on out, join the fun. 99.5 Kiss, Spurs Coyote people out there. Spurs tickets, other great prizes to be given away. Head on over. As Tim Duncan doesn't get the roll, Samaki kept it alive. LaFonso Ellis coming into the game with Todd Day for the first time. So multiple substitutions for Flip Saunders.
Goes off to a bad start from the free throw line, and that's not a good sign.
Only 4 of 8 at the stripe. The bucket gives him a 2-point lead.
High pick and roll right there. Samaki sets the screen. They're looking for Tim Duncan down along the baseline.
Tim against Garrett. Tim had a super look. LaFonso Ellis has the rebound. So the Spurs only 6 of 16. 3-point attempt. Not close. Todd Day. They'll reset the offense. Shot clock, game clock separated by 10 seconds.
Too many offensive rebounds from Minnesota.
Spurs only down by 2, though. Tough beginning offensively for both squads. LaFonso Ellis this time. And a last chance for the Spurs to play for the final shot and the equalizer. Or maybe a 3-pointer for the lead at the end of the first quarter. When you shoot only 37%, what a break. That's because they're playing good D. Minnesota's only 35%. Off the window, Avery Johnson from the holster. It's even. Phillips, will he get it off? Yes. And looked like Palacio of Boston just across the timeline. Was like
Tim Duncan last night, stumbling and finishing the play. The only difference was Chauncey was trying to finish from 54 feet.
Well, it's almost like it should be this way. The way they both play to the offensive end, it is all even at 18. Wouldn't expect it any other way, the way these two teams have played so tightly over the first 2 matchups this season. Cold inside, not only cold outside for both teams at the offensive end. And welcome back to Minneapolis. Spurs T-Wolves on UPN2. And PJ, you've been outboarded 17-9. You shoot only 41% in the first quarter. Fortunately, playing solid D. Minnesota 0 for 5 from three-point range. Fortunate, it's only 18 apiece.
Very fortunate when you look at a 6-1 offensive rebound advantage for Minnesota, and that shouldn't be. Both of these teams very comparable. It's funny, when you look at stats, we're putting together our keys for the game. They cancel out in almost every category. One team has a little bit of an edge in one, slight edge in the other one. To me, the big difference in the game was going to be defense, and so far, fortunately, that's working to the Spurs' advantage.
Brandon working out of the backcourt, along with Chauncey Billups. Garnett still on the bench. Garrett, Day, and Ellis. Alfonso Ellis, longtime member of the Denver Nuggets. As Ellis is going up against Samaki Walker, draws the foul and goes to the line to shoot two. Out there for the Spurs, it's Antonio Daniels, Avery Johnson, Steve Kerr. And down to the baseline, Samaki Walker, who just got the foul, along with Tim Duncan. Alfonso Ellis missed a whole season with a bad leg injury. Parts of 2 seasons, in fact. 9th-year man out of Notre Dame, Lincoln High School in East St. Louis.
Playing very well right now.
Yes.
He looks closer to what he was when he was healthy earlier in his career.
Ellis gives him a 1-point lead. Christus Santa Rosa injury update. Sean Elliott, Chanel Scott, Malik Rose still on the injured list. For the Spurs, Jacobson, Hammonds, and Patterson. For Minnesota, it looks like Sean Elliott could be back early next week. Malik Rose eligible to come off the injured list for the Los Angeles Lakers game at the Dome on Wednesday night. So we'll cross our fingers for both of those guys potentially to come off the injured list for the Laker matchup.
Guys who are really playing well for the Spurs, but the Spurs just keep picking it up and different people step in and contribute.
Steve Kerr on the run. Good ball movement. Antonio gets it inside. Samaki a little bit too much. And Todd Day shoving Tim Duncan out of the way. Loose ball foul. Spurs, fresh 24 on the shot clock. Another chance at the offensive end.
No question. A lot of wolfing right there, but there was no question about that foul. He pushed off. And again, Antonio with the good penetration got Samaki a great look inside.
Todd Day, a former first-round pick of the Bucks in '92. 8th-year man out of Arkansas with the Suns last year. Playing in Europe as well. Tim Duncan on the little pick and roll. Tim inside. Good time. Tim Duncan over Dean Garrett. Exploit that as often as possible. And the Spurs lead by 1. Dean Garrett, the former Indiana Hoosier. Brandon on the pick and roll. Ellis around Duncan. Soft. Alfonso Ellis to the left hand.
Tough basket right there. I thought Samaki had pretty good position. Alfonso just wheeled in and laid it off the glass with his left hand.
You said there's a guy who's got the talent if he can just stay healthy. Tim Duncan fouled on his way up by Garrett. Garrett got ball, but he got body underneath. And Tim Duncan gets a couple of free throws.
No question. Again, aggressive move by Tim. When you're a good player and you make an aggressive move, you're going to get the call. That was a good play. You, Evans, may have anticipated a little bit. You know, you hit it right on the head. Dean Garrett had his hand on the ball, but he had a lot of his body all over Tim Duncan.
So Dean Garrett picking up the foul. Will sit down. Kevin Garnett, Derek Anderson coming back onto the floor. Derek Anderson has to watch out because he got 2 personal fouls. Well, how close is it? In the Western Conference in the Midwest Division, the T-Wolves come in tonight as Tim hits the first of 2. Only 2.5 behind the Spurs and Jazz for the division lead. They're also only 4.5 behind Portland for the conference lead as 1 through 8 in the Western Conference. Only 6 games separate the 8 teams. But then look at Minnesota from the standpoint of being out of the position they're in right now. They're only 4 ahead of the 2 teams tied for 9th in the Western Conference, Denver and Seattle.
Minnesota and Dallas tied for 6th. They both are playing extremely well. And as you said, they're barely hanging on to playoff position.
Hard to believe, isn't it? This is a wild year. A couple of free throws for Tim Duncan. That's good news. TD 4 or 5 at the stripe. Spurs by 1. Garnett over Walker. And it seems like it's automatic for this guy when he's around that range, 14 or 15 feet. He had the space.
He preferred to drive that time. Samaki did a good job, squared up, made him settle for the jump shot, but TD knocks it down.
Comes into the game, averaging just about 23 a game. He's 13th in the league in scoring. Counts if it goes. Yes, Avery Johnson. Boy, if you don't take away his strong side, and Chauncey Billups didn't take away his strong side, he'll burn you.
Scoring guard Avery Johnson. The Spurs guards are just wheeling into the lane tonight. Avery turns the corner and you hit it right on the head. No one stepped in. By the time Alfonso Ellis came over, it was too late.
What about Avery's percentages? He's above 44%, almost 45 now. Started at 42 coming off the injured list. 7 of 10, 5 of 6, 2 of 2 so far today. Sorry I jinxed you, AJ. Missed the free throw, but the three-point play of the Spurs still lead by 1.
Pick and roll, they're looking. Todd Day, and he's going to go underneath to Kevin Garnett.
Garnett against Walker. Samaki choking him off. Nice double by Derek Anderson. Sam Mitchell almost got it to go. Lost by Tim Duncan. A battle. Mitchell kept it alive. Phillips has it.
Another offensive rebound for Minnesota.
Todd Day takes advantage of it. And that is their first three-pointer on 6 tries. Boy, that hurts. Second chance points.
DA with a good move. He gets Todd Day up in the air, and then he leans under, gets to the free throw line. Three-point line is one of those places I talked about. I thought a slight advantage for San Antonio. They shoot such a good percentage, and they defend so well. But again, tonight the lid seems to be on the basket, whether it's free throws, whether it's layups or perimeter, wherever it is, it's difficult to get it to roll.
Minnesota outboarding the Spurs by 9, and the huge difference there on the offensive end. Derek Anderson gets his first 2 points of the game. 5 minutes into the game, he had a second foul. He had to sit down. He was 0 for 3 from the floor. So a couple of free throws. And is tied at 26. Wouldn't be surprised with the largest lead in this game for either team's 4 or 5 points. Ellis, good position. Tim Duncan with the rebound. Alfonso Ellis, a rare miss after coming off the bench and acting as a catalyst already at the offensive end.
Looking for Tim down under. Kevin Garnett does a good job front and denying the entry pass.
And Garnett almost comes up with a steal. Now Duncan with the advantage. And a super look. Give it an assist. Danny Ferry can't finish. Tim's got it. He's fouled by Mitchell. And finally, that was a late call. Mitchell got him early. But this should send Tim Duncan to the free throw line for a couple on his way up.
Well, there's not a lot of rhythm to the game, but the defense is controlling it. And again, repeating ourselves, that's a San Antonio advantage. They're going to need to continue the entire game.
Jake Carlissimo back at the Target Center in Minneapolis. Lakers losing again in the second quarter. A minute and a half to play. Charlotte 47. The Lakers 39. That would be their 18th setback. As Tim is now 5 of 6 at the free throw line, giving the Spurs the lead. Fannie Mae Foundation field goal leaders Tim Duncan 4th and moving up. Wally Szczerbiak, and we talked about that, a guy who shoots the jumper mostly outside, also up there, and that's crazy. And Bonzi Wells too out there at 53%. Szczerbiak at 51%. Couple of free throws for Tim. Spurs by 2. Tim Duncan 6 of 7 at the stripe. Walker kept it alive, batted it away from Ellis. Home run ball. Tim Duncan with the hands and the catch. He'll go to the line for a couple of more. Fouled by Todd Day. And gutty throw on the quarterback was Danny Ferry.
Sacramento Kings unloading the length of the field. Got a tight end catching the ball. TD with a great job. Danny Ferry looks and he sees Tim.
What a throw.
Chauncey Billups was the defensive back, but he wasn't tall enough.
My shoulder's hurting.
Todd Day with a smart foul, but Tim Duncan in a nice rhythm on the line tonight.
Tim said, don't forget what he said on Tuesday night as he misses that one. He said he was happy to go to the line over the last 3.5 minutes of the game when they went to hacking him away from the ball. Until the 2-minute mark when it would have been free throws and the ball out of bounds for the Spurs. Tim hit 5 in a row and 7 of 8. So far tonight, he is 6 of 8 at the stripe, has a dozen points, 5 rebounds, give him 13 points, and he's 7 of 9 at the free throw line.
Spurs doing a good job too. That's 17 free throw attempts for San Antonio to only 5 so far for Minnesota.
That Minnesota team that does not get to the line all that often. 200 plus fewer free throws than their opponents this year. Garnett inside the stripe. Tough one in the roll. Samaki grabs it and holds on. Sam Mitchell almost got one of the chops there.
That's because Minnesota shoots so many jump shots. That's why they don't get to the free throw line, and that could be a problem for them tonight.
Pick and roll game. 4 straight boards for the Spurs. Garnett doing a good job defensively. Shot clock down on Danny Ferry. Derek Anderson looks for 3, gets 3. And the Spurs have their largest lead of the contest. They're up 32 to 26.
D.A. tiptoed inside the line to make sure he wasn't out of bounds, got his feet set and buried it. Szczerbiak wants to take Derek Anderson to the basket again.
And congratulations after that 3-point basket. Sam Mitchell does answer, but it's only good for a deuce. Marietta, well, you have just won The Southwest Airlines three-point shootout. You've got free air travel for 2 on Southwest Airlines. So Marianne Houck, congratulations. Thanks to that three-pointer by Derek Anderson.
We'll see a pick and roll again with Avery and Tim, trying to get Tim down along the baseline. Terrell Brandon.
Tim throwing the ball away, and Anderson then gets caught in the air. So another turnover, and Lofonso Ellis held up by Avery Johnson.
It's a good play. Flip Saunders is screaming for a flagrant, I believe. Hugh Evans made that call. I don't know if you see it. Flip Saunders was
Avery, yes, that was a late call.
No, Flip Saunders was screaming at Hugh Evans as he came into the play that it was a flagrant. Derek Richardson came out. Derek Richardson asked Hugh Evans whether it was a flagrant or not. Hugh Evans told him make the call.
Pop all the way to the half-court line because that was a delay of game on the officiating crew.
Hugh Evans made the call. Derek Richardson's the one who made the signal, but the call was made by Hugh Evans. And Flip really bought the call as Hugh was coming into the play.
Dallas, a couple of free throws, and then the ball out of bounds for Minnesota.
It started with the careless turnover. Tim needs to be a little more selfish. They came with the double team again, and he tried to force it to Derek Anderson cutting to the basket. He's got to be more selfish. I mean, you hate to say that about a player, but Tim's an unselfish player. He's trying to get other guys involved. That's the second time tonight where he has to force the action.
Let me ask you this, though. On the pick and roll, is he catching the ball a little bit too far away from the basket? Because he was a good 18 feet when he got it.
He got it there, and he had to put the ball on the floor, but that's where they set it again. I think they were trying to draw the double team. The double didn't come from on top. It came a little bit late. To me, sometimes the mistake you make is passing it too soon in a double. Accept the double team and then make the pass.
Spurs by 2, 4 straight. Garnett forces it. Super team by Samaki Walker.
Excellent defense by Samaki.
As Tim Duncan gets a break, David Robinson back into the game. Terry Porter ready to return. Avery Johnson, a good look. Coming up short, Samaki Walker. Can he corral it? Yes. Took it away from Zerbiak, and Samaki Walker timed it perfectly before Garnett could respond. And Samaki doing it off the bench once again.
Doing it on both ends. Great stop against Garnett, and then he comes down, stays with an offensive rebound, and finishes.
Sam Mitchell draws the foul, gets the bucket, goes to the line looking for the three-point play.
Sam Mitchell always killed us when I was at Portland and at Golden State. And he's really had a quiet year this year, and he exploded in Portland the other night, even though they got beat by 20, but he had 15 points and really came alive. He's a dangerous player. The previous play, Danny Ferry went down to help out on Wally Zerbiak against Derek Anderson. Sam burned him. That time they ran a down screen. They picked for Sam Mitchell, and he buried the shot. He's always been a good shooter.
He used to be the all-time leading scorer in T-Wolves history. Here in the early days was Coach Musselman. As he misses the free throw, Danny Ferry gets it, and the Spurs have a man advantage. Terry Porter had Derek Anderson on the 2-on-1. Instead, goes with a good-looking jumper from 15 feet away. Didn't force the pass, and it paid off. Terry Porter with the bucket.
I think Terry wanted to make it, couldn't come up with the handle, but then he was patient enough to take it.
Halfway through the second quarter, Garnett, great position inside, doesn't get the finish, bats it out. Danny Ferry got a piece of it. Derek Anderson fouled by Sam Mitchell, and that takes away a 2-on-1 for the Spurs. That hurt.
That was an intentional foul by Sam Mitchell. Sam Mitchell saw what was happening. I think he sensed that it was going to be a 2-on-1 for San Antonio, and he just reached in and grabbed. See right here, Zerbiak knocks it away. Mitchell knew it was a 2-on-1 headed the other way. He just sticks his arm out, grabs DA. Referee's a little confused as to who's on the line, or Danny Ferry not sure who they made the call against. Derek Anderson. Derek Anderson and Danny Ferry. Spurs are all right, either one of those guys.
You said it. Derek leads the team. Free throw percentage, just about 85%. Gets the first. Spurs lead by 5, trying to match their largest advantage. T-Wolves now with 6:01 left in the half, out of fouls. And the Spurs already with 19 free throw attempts, only 8 for Minnesota, and the Spurs 13 of 19 at the stripe.
Spurs clearly the more aggressive team offensively. They're getting it inside, and they're also starting to look to run a little bit right now.
Double comes early. Garnett lost it on his way up, and Samaki said, hey, he put it on the bottom of the glass.
Samaki's right. I think Derek Richardson anticipated it was Hugh Evans with the call on the perimeter.
So the T-Wolves get a break. Garnett will go to the line when we come back. Top one for Samaki Walker, working his tail off.
Why all the San Antonio players were upset. They're banging in the beginning. Samaki and Kevin Garnett bang right here, but now Kevin Garnett blocks himself on the bottom of the rim, actually on the foam on the bottom of the backboard. Samaki's talking to Derek Richardson, but it wasn't Derek that made the call. It was Hugh Evans out on the perimeter. Complain all you want. KG's going to the free throw line for a pair.
Kevin Garnett, 14 points already, 2 of 3 at the stripe, 6 of 10 from the floor. And the coach is also the sole spokesperson for this team now. Flip Saunders in his 6th year as the head coach of the T-Wolves after 7 seasons of the CBA. Kevin McHale, 8-month leave of absence due to the violations with the Joe Smith contract. Glenn Taylor out until September, the owner of the franchise. They lost 5 originally, 5 first-round picks. Now 4 first-round picks. They got one back. Couldn't ask to deal with a nicer guy than Flip Saunders. He paid his dues, and he's got to have some feelings about what's happened to the CBA. As Derek Anderson goes strong to the glass, David Robinson battles, creates a jump ball with Sam Mitchell.
Boy, it's hard to believe you get that call on one end and not at the other. Again, Kevin Garnett, an all-star, perennial all-star. He's going to get it. Derek Anderson with a good, strong move. Nice help. Been saying all night, Minnesota does not help nearly as well as San Antonio. They did that time. I believe it was LaFonso Ellis got his hand in there. It's a good defensive play.
Came over to help out Zerbiak after Zerbiak was beaten out top, and then Derek got scraped across the top of the head as the Spurs controlled the tip. They've got it up by 4. 5.5 to play in the first 24. It's been a strange year, though, for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They've dealt with the adversity and then come up with 11 straight wins. Good catch, Tim Duncan. And then Derek Anderson got Garnett out of position. David, can he finish? No. Garnett with the rebound. David had the mismatch down low.
He did. I thought that was a good look inside. David kind of settled for the jump shot.
Zerbiak, and boy, what a break for the Spurs. But this guy, who's 3rd best in the NBA in field goal percentage, is 0 for 6 so far tonight. Zerbiak shut out from the field. Pick and roll, and Tim Duncan tried to get out of the way. Sam Mitchell was riding him. Foul on Sam Mitchell. Tim Duncan to the free throw line.
Well, I thought free throws were going to be the difference, but I thought that'd be the difference in a close game. I thought one team, the percentage was going to come down to. I did not expect to see this kind of disparity. This is great news for San Antonio. They're also beginning to convert them a little bit. Early on, they were struggling.
Tim on line, but long, 7 of 10. HEB hustle numbers. Spurs were down 19-10 on the boards, folks. They are down by only 1 now. They've made it up in the first 6.5 minutes of the second quarter. Minnesota, no surprise.
Steals,
they have the steal leader with Terrell Brandon.
You'd expect them to be leading in steals, but you certainly wouldn't expect them to be leading in block shots, and they got a 3-zip edge in block shots.
Second coming up for Tim with 4:56 left in the half, and Tim gets the second. So great start for Tim at the stripe. He's got 14 points, 8 of the 14 coming there at the line to go along with 6 boards. Spurs by 5. Garnett this time against David. Double came over quickly. Now computer capitalized because it was Terry who came all the way over. And a good run by Terry Porter, opposite end, in for the reverse and the layup. Boy, Terry Porter ran his you-know-what off, getting over sideline to sideline, and was rewarded.
Did a good job, Minnesota, with good execution against the double team, but once again, can't make the perimeter jump shot.
David Robinson coming out on Kevin Garnett, but Kevin Garnett had the step on him after David almost came up with the tip and the deflection of the pass. Garnett, the savior for the T-Wolves. He's got 18. Next behind him, LaFonso Ellis with 5 off the bench.
LaFonso Ellis all over David Robinson. I can't believe they're letting him do that without a foul call.
7 on the shot clock. Pick and roll. They've got Tim Duncan, but it's taken away now. He's got to get rid of it. Derek Anderson does. It wedged off the rim and the window, so it would have been a fresh 24 for the Spurs. Instead, T-Wolves, and a good look for LaFonso Ellis. But again, T-Wolves only 36% from the field. 14 of 39 after that last miss. Antonio Daniels back out there after the last whistle. David running. Tim will keep it. Tim almost got it despite plenty of contact. And Garnett walked with the basketball. Got away with it. Brandon on the move. Ellis blocked by Tim Duncan. You look for a block, you got it. Terry Porter's got Derek Anderson. D.A. lost the handle, but he's fouled. And Anthony Peter grabbed him on the way by. You didn't like it, did you?
The game has just gotten raggy, and the officials are late with all their whistles. I mean, in fairness, they're letting them play. When you let players play, you're going to get a lot of strange bumps and turnovers. That's a foul right there. They waited, and then when D.A. missed, they finally came with the late whistle. Terry Porter had the layup anyhow, and you got to think D.A. is going to knock them both down, but that's a late whistle. Spurs are struggling inside. There's been some careless passes. That time it was Derek Anderson and Tim Duncan. Tim was open underneath. They couldn't deliver him the ball. This is not the team you want to turn the ball over against. They're a very opportunistic defensive team, and when they're struggling to score the way Minnesota is, the last thing you want to do is give them some fast break opportunities.
Must be generous scoring here, because it seems like the Spurs have a few more, but they've only got them down for 4 turnovers.
Well, you said earlier, it's a lot of deflections. It's like the difference between a block shot and just a shot being altered. You get the same result, but it's not reflected in the stat sheet. The result, excuse me, Joel, is poor shots. The Spurs are getting off these deflected passes.
Garnett gets inside, draws the contact, goes to the line to shoot 2. It's been a chippy game so far. Really has, in hockey terminology.
It's a game with no flow. Neither team has been able to get into an offensive flow. It's gone up and down. There's a lot of banging. We said earlier the referees are letting them lay on the big guys, but the Spurs are the ones that are taking advantage of it because they're getting inside. Minnesota's settling for jump shots, and fortunately for San Antonio, the jump shots aren't going down.
Garnett missing the free throw, and boy, talk about a guy that shows up on the leaderboard across the board.
These stats are unbelievable. There's 9 basic categories in the NBA statistics. Kevin's in 7 of them right here. The 2 he's not in, 3-point shooting, he shoots 33%, and free throws, he shoots 78%. On top of that, he's a first-team all-defensive player. He is such a versatile, impressive player. Now we got another whistle. I think this is Derek Richardson's going to be a blood stop.
Yes, David may have been cut.
Yeah.
They've been pouncing on David. You talked about it. You were surprised.
Yeah, they're letting him play. Pop's going to take a timeout right now. He's talking to you, Evans, but LaFonso Ellis was all over David down underneath last time. But I think, frankly, the referees are feeling they're maybe calling too many fouls.
We'll come right back. Spurs will have it leading by 6 after this from Southwest Airlines. Spurs with 3:11 to play in the half, lead it by 6. Will also have it in the offensive end. Join HEB in their quest to fill the dome on Saturday, March 3rd against the Atlanta Hawks. And bring an original HEB receipt for $10 or more to the Spurs box office and buy up to 6 upper-level tickets for just $2 a piece. All proceeds going directly to the Spurs Foundation. Quantities are limited. Don't miss out. HEB, Saturday, March 3rd against the Atlanta Hawks. Join us out of the dome. There's 6 upper-level tickets, only $2 a piece with that receipt. Joel Myers, PJ Carlissimo, back at the Target Center in Minneapolis. Garnett. He had a hook. Tim getting the ball on the baseline and drawing the contact from Kevin Garnett. Garnett got him early. Will they call it on Garnett? No, Brandon instead for the reach. Coming over to help out. Tim Duncan back to the free throw line. Spurs 23 free throw attempts compared to only 12 for the homestanding Minnesota Timberwolves. But the Spurs are getting it inside.
The more aggressive team and the team that takes the ball to the rim, and that's what the Spurs are doing. Other than Kevin Garnett, Minnesota Timberwolves are moving the ball on the perimeter. It's not like they're not getting some good looks, but they're just not able to put it down. Serbiak went to the basket early twice, came up empty. Other than Garnett, it's been mostly perimeter jump shots from Minnesota.
That is not the stroke of a 56% free throw shooter. Tim Duncan, 10 of 13 at the stripe tonight. Tim coming out of the quick double and then adjusting back to Ellis. David will pick up Garnett on the opposite side. Garnett got David into the air through the contact. And they were going to give him the continuation play. Garnett will go to the line instead, where he just made 1 of 2. He'll have a couple of more coming his way. And David can't believe it, but he's got a second foul.
Derek Richardson, the official of the night. He's the one that's in the wrong place all night. He's making a lot of calls.
Biggest lead of the night for the Spurs now. They're up by 8. What about what the Minnesota Timberwolves did to the Sacramento Kings with Chris Webber just a couple of weeks ago here? 41-10 at the end of the first quarter at the Target Center.
They made complete opposite tonight. Everything they shot went down, and they're capable of doing that. Boy.
Ellis on the long miss.
Deep rebound again. Minnesota struggling at the free throw line very uncharacteristically, but they're getting an awful lot of offensive rebounds.
Gives them One more board from the Spurs. Brandon on the run. Ellis, another offensive rebound. Second chance opportunity. And Ellis fouled by Jaren Jackson. JJ just off the bench.
JJ in, and again, you get deep rebounds. Sometimes there's rebounds that just come along and there's nothing you can do about them. But you know, when you're a coach and you want to get on your guys, you just tell them all the time, if you stay between your man and the basket, he can't get the rebound. You know, people used to say box out. A lot of people do not box out in this league. They're used to just going and getting the ball. But you got a night like this when the team is shooting the ball poorly from the perimeter, it's much more important to lay a body on the guy and stay between your man and the basket. Come up with those defensive rebounds, even if you make them bounce on the floor first.
Joe Reinagle, Body Solutions halftime report, Coyote Clubhouse preview, highlights from around the league, plenty of games, and Express News numbers as well. It's all coming up with Joe Reinagle. First time we've seen even token pressure in the backcourt from either team.
You're reluctant to press when you're in the penalty, and that's what flips. In one sense, he wants to change the tempo of the game, but he's scared more fouls are going to be committed if you pressure.
Spurs up by 5. The double frees up Tim Duncan for the good look on the baseline, and Tim Duncan comes through for his 4th field goal of the night. 18-7 so far for Tim. Spurs by 7.
Good pick and roll execution, Terry Porter and Tim Duncan.
Terry Porter super position, but it's called for the block. It looked like he had moved his feet over in time. Hugh Evans made the call. Terrell Brandon goes to the free throw line. And Brandon's not been to the stripe yet.
Hugh Evans was standing right behind Terry, and he felt he didn't get his feet set. I thought, as you said, he did a good job cutting him off. He had his head and shoulder right between him and the direction he was trying to go, but Hugh Evans made the call.
Out of Grant High School in Portland. Terrell Brandon misses the first of 2. 10th-year man, former Oregon Duck, career 14-point average. He is 7th in the league, make it 9th in the league. He was 7th, dropped down to 9th over the last couple of days in assists. Almost 8 a game. Gets 1 of 2 at the stripe on his first trip to the free throw line. Only 5 points so far, though, for Terrell Brandon, who's their second leading scorer coming in with 17 a game. 6-point lead for the Spurs. Avery Johnson, pick and roll. David Robinson, 15-footer, doesn't get the roll. Chauncey Billups back out there. Zerbiak asking for it. Tim Duncan poked it away. Almost came up with a steal. Zerbiak, boy, he really does work without the basketball.
You have to. When you're a shooter like that, you know you have to move to get it. And Wally Zerbiak has learned early in his career, take advantage of the picks, move without the ball, particularly on a team like this that passes the ball so well. He gets open, they're going to get him the ball.
He's basically the 3rd option on offense, and as he says, they really don't call any plays for me. I just got to move without it. Zerbiak inside the 3-point line. Good jump out by Jaren Jackson. Loose ball picked up by Billups. They're getting every offensive opportunity now.
Kevin Garnett kept it alive. Kevin Garnett over the top, just tapped it back.
That's 26-22 on the boards for the T-Wolves. Billups clipped by Porter in a game where we've seen them beat each other on the blocks. I mean, just lay lumber on him. That's a touch foul on Terry Porter. And I know the players only ask for consistency.
Well, that's part of the problem. You know what's in the back of the official's mind. They sense the disparity free throw attempts, and they know that Spurs are going to the line, so subconsciously or consciously they say, hey, if there's an opportunity to make a call against San Antonio, they're going to make that play.
28 fouls between the two teams with a minute to play in the half. And Billups gets a couple. 4th year out of Colorado, signed as a free agent, a 3-year deal, and it's run away by Tim Duncan. Jaren Jackson, who doesn't see that many minutes, saw 23 in the last game, started to go one way and then came back to Tim Duncan, and Tim thought he was going towards the other end of the floor.
Well, there's the pressure you talked about. The guards were not up. I don't know where both guards were. I know they overplayed on the one side. Jaren Jackson's a forward. He flashed up. But you talked about a little bit of pressure to change the tempo and resulted in a turnover right there.
AutoZone timeout after the 5th turnover of the contest for the Spurs. Spurs led by Tim Duncan's 18 points and 7 rebounds. Nobody else though for the Spurs in double figures. And well, we've talked about it before. Kevin Garnett, 20 points and 5 boards for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So as you said, they offset each other. Now, who else is going to come through offensively for the two teams?
Well, I think it was a game of stepping up. I thought Zerbiak would be the given. I really thought Brandon and Garnett would put up good numbers for Minnesota. And I thought it was going to be a big issue whether Wally Szczerbiak continued his recent stellar play. I thought that would be a big key for Minnesota. I thought for San Antonio, someone else had to step up big. Derek Anderson did it in the game early in the year, second game of the season. I thought David Robinson was the likely candidate tonight for San Antonio. Really doesn't matter who it is, but it's got to be somebody else helping out Duncan and Garnett for the respective teams.
Szczerbiak 0 for 7 so far tonight. Garnett and the back door from Szczerbiak. Nobody on Garnett. And when I say that, Terry Porter's downstairs, but Terry can't go up against him.
Well, it was a back screen and they switched it. That was a call coming out of the timeout. Flip Saunders took a timeout after the turnover and set it up.
Terry Porter taking the pick, coming up firing, and Terry Porter just a little space after the pick by Tim Duncan. Gives the Spurs a little breathing room by 4. Final 30 seconds of the half.
Also an opportunity for 2 for 1 for San Antonio. They're going to get the last shot of the half.
Garnett looking for 3. And Avery Johnson making sure they do get the last shot of the half. Good hands. So the Spurs will go for the final shot, leading by 4. Hitting 45% compared to 34% for the T-Wolves. Tim Duncan trying to get over to the side. Avery getting into the middle. Phillips doesn't bite on him, and they call a charge on Avery Johnson. So the final shot with 3.6 to play will belong to the Minnesota Timberwolves. You can hear in the background again, Tim Duncan just said, watch that back pick. Ellis stopping, going for 3. And coming up short, fortunately for the Spurs. So the Spurs go to the locker room leading like they did the entire second quarter. They got to the free throw line regularly. They basically got back almost even on the boards. And as we said, wouldn't be surprised to see this one go to overtime, just like the last meeting between the two teams.
I just hope the flow improves a little bit. The referees let them play, but the players have to make some jump shots.
Spurs by 4 at the break. From the Target Center in Minneapolis, Spurs lead it by 4. Score looks normal, 49-45. Everything looks normal on the surface, but it's been anything but that so far. Strange game, and you talked about trying to find a rhythm at the offensive end. Spurs have had 12 fewer shots because of the offensive rebounds for the T-Wolves. We've had 20 players, 10 for each team get into the game, yet out of the 20, only 2 in double figures, partner.
Well, we know who the 2 are. we teased it before the game. We're talking about it all night. You knew Duncan was going to get his. You knew Garnett was going to get his, but no one else has stepped up. I've been on the officials a little bit, but frankly, if the players don't put the ball in the basket, it's going to be an ugly game. The game is just disjointed. There's a lot of offensive rebounds. There's not a lot of turnovers numerically, but there are a lot of bumps and deflections. So the game has no flow to it at any point. So it's difficult for the referees. Big number, 46% for the Spurs from the field, 33 from Minnesota. If that holds, they're going to be in good shape. San Antonio getting to the free throw line, 25-20 in attempts. Rebounds, not much to 26-23, but the concern, which you talked about, 10 offensive rebounds. Fouls are ugly. There's been 30 fouls already in the game. San Antonio backcourt has done a really good job. Avery Johnson has shot the ball very well. Antonio Daniels, Terry Porter. Fortunately for them, that's helped out.
Big first half. Fortunately for the Spurs, for Tim Duncan, and especially at the free throw line. Tim Duncan at the stripe, a savior tonight, 10 of 13, 10 of his 18 points coming there. We'll continue at the half. Body Solutions halftime report. Spurs by 4 over the T-Wolves. We get ready for the start of the second half at the Target Center, and welcome back once again. Minnesota Timberwolves, trailing the Spurs by 4, have been a very good team in tight games. They'll have it to start the second half. Nesterovic will be out there. They'll have his team starting 5. Nesterovic saw very little time, though. Had a couple of fouls in the first 5 minutes and sat down, did not come back. They've got a mismatch down low, but Terry Porter did a good job of fronting Wally Szczerbiak. Nesterovic getting it right back against David Robinson. And Nesterovic going to the reverse. Thought he had contact. Didn't get the call. Spurs will take it.
He made a nice move, but that's not the guy Flip Saunders wanted to take the first shot of the second half.
There's the guy the Spurs would like. And Tim Duncan gets it. A sweet little baby hook with the left hand. Tim with 20 and 7 now. Spurs by 6. They go right back. The 2-man game we've been talking about. Garnett lost it underneath. Tim Duncan knocked it away, but fortunately for Minnesota, they kept it. Garnett spotting it up for three. Not close, but they get the long rebound. Spurs were crashing the boards, and it came back out. Zerbiak, fortunately for the Spurs, he's 0 for 8. And that's a guy who's third best field goal percentage in the NBA coming in tonight.
He can't buy a basket, but the Spurs, I don't think, can continue to give Minnesota these extra field goal attempts off the offensive rebounds.
Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan short on the window. Derek Anderson tried to keep it alive, almost timed it perfectly. Zerbiak with Brandon. And the pass way over the head of Garnett. There's so much contact between Duncan and Garnett. If they're going to start calling touch fouls, this is going to be a 2-hour second half.
I think the refs would like, the refs know, I'm sure they talked about that at halftime, the flow of the game or lack of flow. They'd like to see that change in the second half.
And we've got a foul underneath away from the ball. Nesterovic pushing out David Robinson before the pass went in. Third foul on Rasho Nesterovic. He wasn't much of a factor in the first two meetings between the two teams. Young man from Slovenia in his third season, 7-footer, 250 pounds.
That's the foul that I wish the refs would call. If they call a push-in on the post-up underneath, that's going to be good news for San Antonio.
Even better news with Derek Anderson with that good seal by David Robinson on that side. Can start to hit that shot. Derek only 1 for 7. Nesterovic again against David Robinson. Zerbiak finally gets one. Zerbiak 1 for 9. 4-point ball game. You get the feeling that if the Spurs could put together a run, a serious run, it may be tough for the T-Wolves. Terry Porter sees parted. Derek Anderson doesn't get it. Terry looked like he had the flip, but Garnett was waiting inside. Zerbiak on the weak side got it over David. Good move by Zerbiak to protect the basketball.
Well, Derek Anderson got caught in the corner. Derek took a jump shot out of the corner and didn't get back. Zerbiak, after he pressured, he's matched up against Derek. He just released, and Derek maybe not used to getting all the way back, which is what forwards have to do. Guards are used to only getting back to half court. He makes a nice little curl move and finishes in there, but he's got to get back and find Wally Zerbiak because he can get hot very quickly.
11 points for Derek Anderson. Garnett battling with Tim Duncan. Tim, stout D down low. Zerbiak doesn't get it. Anderson does. Derek Anderson on the run with the trailer. Terry Porter lining it up. And the former Timberwolf. He spent 3 seasons here before he went to Miami for a year. Comes through in rhythm. Spurs by 7.
Terry Porter plays well against his former teams. He always does.
So 4 games coming up against Portland. Expect good things?
We very definitely expect good things.
Zerbiak now starting to ask for it in close range. Does he get it? Yes. A break there on the roll. It looks short off his hand. 8.5 to play in the third. Spurs by 5. Spurs at 46%, 35% for the T-Wolves at the offensive end.
More offense in the first 4 minutes than we had for any 8-minute span of the first half.
Tim Duncan put it to the floor. Peeler came over on the double and took it away. The turnover and the steal. Brandon very quiet in the first half. It stays that way, but Nesterovic chases it down. Every loose ball seems to be going. Second chance opportunities as Peeler makes the most of it. Second chance points killing the Spurs.
It's not reflected in the numbers, but it's there. They're just giving him too many extra field goals. They only have him down for 5 second chance points in the first half, but there's been too many possessions where they're getting 2 or 3 field goal attempts, and that's going to come back and kill you.
Kevin Garnett locking up Tim Duncan and then reaching in for the foul. Seemed like he fouled him before that anyway, and the technical foul comes on Flip Saunders.
And Flip got all over Mark Wunderlich, and Mark Wunderlich didn't want to hear it. He felt it was a very simple call. He made the call. You have to pick your chances, your opportunities when you get on the ref. If it's a borderline call, or if the ref kicks it, they know it. They're going to give you a lot more latitude. When they know they have the call right and you jump all over them, they don't take to that too kindly.
Second team foul. Derek Anderson comes through at the stripe, as Derek is 7 of 7 at the free throw line, so 7 of his 12 coming to the free throw line.
That's overcome. As you said, D, I believe, is 1 for 7 or 1 for 8 from the field.
2 for 9 now after the slow beginning of the second
half. That's right, the curl play. But he's made up for it on the line. The good news for him, he knows he can go by Zerbiak anytime he wants to, put it on the floor. He's got him right now on top.
Inside of 10 on the shot clock. Derek Anderson on the run. Blocked by Garnett, and Garnett gets the foul. That is going to be the third on Kevin Garnett. Now, wait a minute, only the second. That's right, they gave one earlier to Nesterovich when it was Garnett, so that's the second on Kevin.
DA got one right across the lips, I believe. He goes up strong here. No, it doesn't look it. Thought he came out of there holding his lips.
That was the previous play. Yeah, he's really been racked up.
I think he's going to be happy to get back to the backcourt. He likes the matchup. He and Serbiak is a good matchup, and the two players against each other, but I think he's a little more comfortable out on the perimeter. He's not going to get banged around quite as much.
It's like if you're an outside linebacker, you don't want to play middle linebacker. Too much traffic. And all of a sudden, heavy traffic for Derek Anderson tonight as he gets 1 of 2. 5-point ball game.
Back down under again.
Zerbiak got him that time. Little spin.
Both of these players having trouble guarding each other. We talked about Garnett and Duncan being able to score on each other. It looks like Serbiak and DA can pretty much have what they want.
Jim Duncan battling just to get into position against Kevin Garnett. That much contact. And it's knocked away on the double. Hugh Evans said they got ball. Tim Duncan said he grabbed my arm. Garnett, this time against David Robinson. That's 8 turnovers now for the Spurs compared to only 4 for the T-Wolves. Peter, what he does best, shooting off the dribble. Daniels on the run against Brandon, draws contact, and goes to the line to shoot 2. Now that is great recognition by Antonio Daniels, but he also is cupping his left arm against his body like he's in pain.
David Robinson with the strong rebound underneath, and then Terry Porter throws it ahead. Antonio goes for the basket. Terrell Brandon just cut him down. Antonio's got to gather himself now and knock down these 2 free throws because Minnesota has looked the best they've looked all night offensively right now. They're making a little bit of a run, and it's important for the Spurs to answer. They don't want to let Minnesota take the lead and get this crowd in the game. The crowd's been very quiet so far, particularly for this building.
Daniels 1 of 2 at the stripe. Make it 1 of 3. Robinson kept it alive, knocked out of bounds. And knocked out of bounds by Zerbiak, but they were ready to give it.
He pointed the wrong way.
It'll be the Spurs ball. No, Zerbiak touched it last.
Yeah, he had the call right. He just pointed the wrong way.
Fresh shot clock for the Spurs. 6:32 left in the third. Spurs by 3. No Spurs yet in foul trouble. Nobody with 3. Couple with 3. Nesterovich and Peter on the move. It doesn't go. That was Terry Porter and Brandon coming out looking for the transition. But the Spurs back.
Coming with a post up again. They wanted to go to Serbiak down under.
Zerbiak drawing the foul, going to the line. Antonio Daniels asking where. So Wally Zerbiak 8 points already over the first 5+ minutes of the third quarter. He went 0 for 7 to start the contest. He's got 4 buckets now in 13 attempts and earns a trip to the free throw line for the first time tonight. He averages 13 a game.
They're going to continue to go down under to Wally Serbiak, and the Spurs are either going to have to get down there quickly with a double team, or the man playing Wally Serbiak's got to contest him a little bit better. He's going to be able to post up, and instead of letting him get it on the block, work him a little bit, get him 2-3 feet off the block. He's just getting it too close to the basket. He's so close, it's even difficult to get a double team down there.
He's had his battles this year, arguments with Kevin Garnett that was well documented. Also, Terrell Brandon, that was not reported all that much. But he just wanted to let them know he didn't feel like being treated like a rookie. It was his sophomore season.
Well, he's backing it up with his playing. And again, I think you have those kind of disagreements with most teams.
Derek Anderson coming up empty. It's been that kind of night for Derek, 2 of 10. But he does have 13, with most of it coming to the free throw line. Chance for the Wolves to take their first lead of the second half.
Coming right back to Serbiak or Garnett.
Deflection and almost a takeaway. Zerbiak inside the 3-point line and knocked out of bounds by Anthony Peter. So the Spurs will get it when we come back. A timeout on the floor. Both teams still having problems finding any kind of rhythm and runs at the offensive end. Spurs, though, still lead by a point. Lead for the Spurs. Listen to Good Time Oldie Station, Kono 101 FM for all the details about the Purina Pet Lovers Night for the Spurs Monday. That's Monday night, March 12th. And a free Go Spurs Go pet collar and goodie bag is going to be given away with all advanced ticket purchases, benefiting the Humane Society and the SPCA of Bexar County. Listen to Kona 101 FM. Find out how to get your paws on this special deal. Joel Myers, PJ Carlissimo, back at the Target Center with the body. Don't call him Jesse now that he's a commentator on the XFL. He wants to be known as the body again. The governor of Minnesota. And hold your chuckles, please. 5:29 left in the third quarter. Spurs try to get a little breathing room. Garnett out on Tim Duncan. Tim goes right by him, strong to the rack, and draws the foul. What a move by Tim Duncan on his weak side.
That is a big-time play. Tim had a move just like that. We showed it in the open where he put the ball on the floor from the opposite side. This time he goes outside hand. Nesterovic tries to come over and do a good job. Emphatic finish right over the top. It's about as strong a finish as you're going to see.
Tim not coming close on the free throw, though, on the line drive. He's 10 for 14, and the free throws
starting to hurt.
You said it.
2 for 6 this half for San Antonio.
You're going up against the team that's number 2 in the NBA in free throw percentage, and there's a shove and an offensive foul.
That same set we saw coming out of the timeout in the first half. This time San Antonio defended it very, very well. Ready for it, good adjustment, they took him out of it.
Third foul on Kevin Garnett.
Talking about free throws, Minnesota's only 2 for 2. They've only attempted 2 so far. But when you're playing a team that shoots 80% from the field, you can't let it come down. 80% from the free throw line. You can't let it come down to the free throw line.
Reggie Slater just came into the game and picks up the foul. That didn't take long, did it? Well, he the designated guy?
He was getting ready. He was auditioning for Jesse Ventura right there. He wants to play for the San Francisco Demons. He took a shot right at David Robinson when he came across the lane. Good news is we're looking at 5 minutes more of free throws.
Another miss, though. 20 of 32. T-Wolves, as you say, are out of fouls now for the quarter. And I bring up, you don't want to waste your opportunities at the stripe because the Minnesota Timberwolves, winners of 6 straight at home, have been very good in tight games this year. 12-6 in games decided by 6 or less. 7-3 when the spread is 3 or fewer. Garnett losing the handle. Antonio Daniels has it. Coming over on the double team with Derek Anderson. Antonio, the trailer, Tim Duncan strong again. That's a transition.
Kevin Garnett hustled and he got back. His teammates didn't hustle. He did a good job. It looked like a 2-on-1 fast break, and he took away the 2-on-1. But Tim Duncan's extra effort made it a 3-on-2.
5 straight points for the Spurs. Brandon blocked from behind. Porter can't collect it. Good effort by Terry, though. It'll stay in the offensive end with 12 on the shot clock. Samaki Walker into the game for David Robinson.
Great response by the Spurs since that first time out. Tim Duncan set the table with that emphatic dunk, and they have obviously upped their intensity level. Up their intensity maybe 2 levels, not 1.
Zerbiak against Derek Anderson. Shot clock down. Peter on the move, drawing the foul, getting the bucket. Samaki Walker called on the touch. Anthony Peter with a good look, got inside 10, 12 feet away. The former Missouri Tiger to the line.
Good ball movement by Minnesota. They spun it all the way around the perimeter. We don't see it there. A little bit of a touch foul. Samaki had his left hand reaching across Antonio Peeler's right arm. Anthony Peeler, excuse me, but he wants to know what he did. Derek Richardson again with the call.
3-point play for Peeler.
They cashed their free throws.
17 of 23 at the stripe. Peeler's got 7. 3-point ball game on the 3-point play. Derek Anderson wanted to get it to Tim Duncan. Tim battling. Garnett's got 3 fouls, don't forget. Tim on the move, doesn't get the roll. Garnett's got the rebound.
I think Kevin Garnett got hit right across the mouth when Tim wheeled around, but he stayed with it, went way up for the rebound.
Zerbiak shut off on the baseline, in trouble. Plenty of time on the shot clock. Garnett to his weak side. Didn't get the roll, and Slater gives him another try. Boy, the offensive rebounds have been there all night for the T-Wolves. They've outboarded the Spurs now 36-27. Garnett, strong side. Too strong. Slater didn't go back up, and a walk by Zerbiak, and a turnover, only the 6th of the game for the T-Wolves. Well, Slater could have gone back right up with it. Didn't.
Pop's taking a timeout. What do you think he's going to talk about a timeout, Joe? Think they may suggest a little bit of boxing out and a better job on the defensive boards by the San Antonio Spurs. Nonetheless, Spurs hanging in, 3-point lead.
They love their Timberwolves here at the Target Center, with good reason. They have put together a solid franchise. Our Southwestern Bell Trivia: which 3 teams entered the NBA with the T-Wolves in the late 80s? Phil Musselman, their first head coach here. I really enjoyed talking to him. Just passed away in the last year after suffering a stroke. Had been an assistant coach up in Portland over the last couple of years. Sam Mitchell still with little quotes. Bill Musselman cared a lot about his head coach. In the corner, Derek Anderson wide open, hits the three-pointer. Spurs by 6. Derek Anderson only 3 for 11, but that is huge out of the timeout. Was super ball movement out of the timeout. Another well-executed play off the board.
Good execution and coming at a perfect time.
Garnett over Samaki Walker with a deuce.
Samaki shakes his head. That's the second time he's done a good job forcing Kevin Garnett to settle for the perimeter jump shot. Both times Garnett drained it.
Spurs still by 4. Porter on the move, forces his way in, trying to keep it alive, and he gets it. Terry Porter now bombing away for 3. Terry Porter. He had a slight opening. Spurs by 7.
How about the line? Terry gets a field goal attempt, an offensive rebound, give himself an assist, and then a 3.
Samaki Walker kept it alive. Terry bounced back in off the baseline, made sure both feet were in. Brandon on the move off the pick and roll, and Terrell Brandon thought he was clipped going by. Still, Spurs by 5. 2 minutes to play in the third quarter. Avery Johnson waiting to come in on the next whistle. Terry Porter thought the pick was coming. Now, Tim Duncan got away from Garnett and drew the foul. And it should be on Garnett. Let's see if they give it to Garnett or Slater.
Slater's raising his hand. He's trying to get the foul, and Mark Wunderlich comes out with the call that way.
Garnett was off balance and out of position.
Good pass there by Terry Porter. He had to thread the needle and got it in. Tim Duncan with the good, strong catch also.
Tim Duncan coming through at the stripe, 11 of 15 now.
Well, after only getting 1 3-pointer in the first half, you see Terry Porter creating a good look for Derek Anderson. DA finally takes the lid off the basket. Terry created his own 3-pointer on the succeeding possession and buried a 3 from the opposite side.
26 points now for Tim Duncan to go along with 7 boards. Samaki Walker is going to be posted up by Kevin Garnett. Garnett on the step back. And Tim Duncan has his 8th rebound. Spurs on the run by 7. Spurs 4 of 6 beyond the arc. The #1 3-point shooting team in the NBA is Danny Ferry, is now 3rd best in the league in 3-point field goal percentage. On the move, Derek Anderson thought he was hit. Zerbiak got a piece of it.
He got caught in between.
Brandon, weak side, top play. And a battle underneath. Slater comes up with another offensive rebound. Plenty of time on the shot clock, even though it wasn't a reset. It's down inside of 9. Phillips getting inside. Will he get the roll? No. Samaki Walker rips it down for the Spurs. Final minute of a productive third quarter for the Spurs. Can they increase their advantage? They led by 4 at the half. Tim Duncan, good post position on Kevin Garnett. Will it be a drop step to the baseline? No. The reverse. Now shot clock down. Derek Anderson looking for another 3. Garnett. Fingertip control by Kevin Garnett. Then maybe they can go for the 2 for 1. No. Zerbiak.
Mismatch.
Brandon bombing away. And Tim Duncan. Good box out on Slater. Spurs will hang on for the final shot of the third quarter.
2 big defensive rebounds. First Samaki Walker, then Tim Duncan. Refreshing change. Limit the T-Wolves to 1 shot.
And holding the T-Wolves to 34% from the field. On the move, Derek Anderson with the stroke. 2.2 to play in the quarter. Spurs with their biggest lead of the game. Brandon at the buzzer. It won't come close. So the Spurs a +5 in the third 12 after leading 49-45 at the half. After the third quarter, lead it 73-64. Getting it done at the defensive end, and still a pretty decent percentage of the offensive end. Can they beat the T-Wolves and take the edge in the season series? Welcome back once again to Minneapolis. We get ready for the final 12 minutes of regulation on UPN2, and the Spurs have their biggest lead of the game. They're up by 9. Diamond Shamrock, third quarter recap. Spurs 12 percentage points better when it comes to field goals, PJ, but 18 more attempts for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
That's got to be a concern. Three-point shooting, a big plus. Not just only 4-to-1 difference, but again, you see the percentage. Minnesota has struggled when they've trailed. 3-17, trailing after 3 quarters. An unbelievable 29-3 when they lead after 3 quarters. So you'd have to say the T-Wolves a little bit front runners.
Spurs try to go over the 500 mark on the road for only the 3rd time this year. Avery Johnson out of the backcourt, working with Antonio Daniels on the pick and roll. Derek Anderson getting it to Tim Duncan on the step back. Boy, Garnett got away with a shove on that play.
Good execution. The Spurs got just what they wanted, weren't able to come up with the bucket. Crowd up and into this game, trying to get their T-Wolves going.
Spurs need to avoid a quick run at the outset of the quarter. And let this crowd get back into the game. Alfonso Ellis had the hot hand of the first half. Samaki saves it on the baseline. Huge rebound early.
One shot would be the recipe. If they can limit Minnesota to one shot most of the trips this quarter, San Antonio will be in good shape.
Pick and roll. Derek Anderson giving it up, spotting up. Antonio Daniels gets the three-pointer. Spurs now 5 of 8 from beyond the arc, and even doesn't. 12-point lead, 76-64. 33% on the offensive end. Throwaway by Zerbiak. Antonio Daniels doesn't have the numbers. 3-on-3 and all little guys.
Derek Anderson caused that turnover because he shortcut Wally Zerbiak, cut him off at the pass, and Wally had nothing to do with the ball, just made a careless pass.
Turnovers even. Avery held up, draws the foul on his way in, and earns a couple at the free throw line. Opening 90 seconds of the 4th quarter, and what a start. Talked about it as Billups gets the foul. Talked about how huge it would be for the Spurs to make sure it's not a quick spurt out of the timeout between quarters by Minnesota. But they couldn't gain early momentum, and they've negated that.
They did it. They did it by defensive rebounding. They did it by creating a turnover and getting a fast break look, and they did it again with the big 3-point shot. Pop talking to the guys, making sure they keep up the intensity. Avery just turns the corner, penetrates right there. Alfonso Ellis did a good job helping out, but before it got that far, we had the foul.
PJ, realistically, you've got the T-Wolves tonight, Toronto on Sunday, Milwaukee on Monday. You think sweep whenever you go out. That's the positive frame of mind. 2 out of 3, probably heaven.
Well, you're talking to a coach, albeit a former coach, so you think one at a time. Get this one first. Get this one, enjoy tomorrow, and then we'll deal with Toronto. Toronto's won 3 in a row. They're a much better team in the Air Canada Center, and as everybody in San Antonio will remember, they came in and beat the Spurs in the Alamo Dome just a couple of weeks ago.
Spurs 27th in the NBA in free throw percentage. It's not helping them tonight. Avery just missed a couple. 23 of 37 at the stripe. HEB hustle numbers. Minnesota still by 9 on the board. Spurs up on top in blocks, though. Garnett, great position. Inside. Too close for comfort.
Well, you called it great position, but we talked about how these two teams are very similar. Edges in different areas. Big free throw edge for Minnesota. They shoot free throws well. San Antonio doesn't. Big 3-point edge for San Antonio.
Pass deflected. Avery tries to save it, pokes it. Derek Anderson for 3. And Samaki Walker with another try at the offensive end. Spurs can take their time. 10 to play in the contest, leading by 10.
If we can find number 21.
Flashing in. Daniels on the move. Will he get the roll? No. Zerbiak's got it off the fingertips of Garnett. Garnett with 26. Duncan with 26. Duncan with 9 boards. Garnett with 13. It goes through Garnett, and it's taken away by Antonio Daniels. Cruises home for the easy one, and he wanted to make sure he was thinking about one. Used to.
Second big steal in a row. That time it was Antonio Daniels got both of the steals. I thought Derek Anderson helped him on the last one. That one there was Antonio with a great read.
Down to 9, 8:41 to play. Spurs led by as many as 14 early in the 4th. Garnett will go to the free throw line, where Kevin Garnett is 6 of 9 tonight. Southwestern Bell Trivia, which 3 teams entered the NBA along with the T-Wolves in the 80s? Charlotte, Miami, and the Magic of Orlando. Big free throws. And Garnett comes through.
All 4 with the same climate.
Kevin Garnett at the stripe this year. Boy, oh boy, everything well. 78%.
78%. The total package.
Coming up short, and Derek Anderson hit coming down with it. It's going to be saved, though, by Antonio Daniels. It's only 1 of 2. 8-point lead for the Spurs, 8.5 to play.
Half-court trap.
You saw it coming. Avery recognized it early as well. It's a game of keep away.
DA's going to get the shot if they swing it.
Tim Duncan, what a pass. Super pass.
Beautiful
Samaki Walker from Tim Duncan.
Great recognition. They got the ball to the middle. Tim Duncan was the man in the middle, and he made the read.
10-point lead. Quick touches by the big guys. Right through Tim Duncan. A perfect pass by TD. Brandon on the baseline. Shot clock down to 6. Garnett gets inside, reverses it. He does everything.
He was well defended, too. Tim Duncan made him change direction 2 times. Kevin Garnett just stayed with it. He earned those 2 points.
That puts it to the floor. We talked about him. Not a power forward. The way he dribbles the ball, it's like a small forward. Pick and roll. Derek Anderson leaves it off. Samaki Walker grabbed on his way up by Alfonso Ellis, but nice dribble penetration. Derek Anderson.
Excellent ball movement by the Spurs. We talked about Minnesota being a great passing team. Look at this passing. Tim Duncan turns, went up to shoot it, recognized that Samaki was going to be open. Anytime you get the ball in the middle against a half-court trap, you're going to break the defense down. Excellent half-court execution by the Spurs, but the free throw line continues to plague San Antonio.
15 misses at the stripe tonight. Samaki Walker only 55% at the free throw line this year. He hasn't been there that much, don't forget. Missed so much during the first half of the season. And the second, good stroke. So 24 of 39, Spurs by 9. 7.5 to play.
Long time to go.
Too much time.
Continue the defense and limit them to 1 attempt.
Brandon setting up Garnett. Way out. Kevin Garnett just inside the stripe. Garnett now with 31 points on 12 of 21 from the field. Phillips making Dave back into the game. For Wally Zerbiak. Tim asking for it against Garnett. The double came. Garnett kept up with it, but Tim Duncan had a great look. Bad break for Tim.
Just didn't get the roll.
Day charging, and Samaki Walker, they'll count it. They'll say Samaki had to be inside because it seemed like he was there in time, but was he inside the dotted line?
I thought he had good position. Mark Wunderlich was right on top of the call. I don't know if we're going to see it from this angle. I don't think he got there. He was there in time. I got to think he was inside the dotted line because Mark Wunderlich was right on the call. Yes, he was.
He was inside.
Good call by Mark Wunderlich.
So
good aggressive move by Todd Day. Excuse me, Joe.
Getting to the free throw line. Even if he doesn't get the basket, he's getting a couple. Now he's got the chance for 3, and he gets the 3-point play, and it's a 2-possession game.
Yeah, transition basket really hurt.
4-point ball game, 6 straight by the T-Wolves after the bucket by Garnett. I think it's 5 straight. Bucket by Garnett, the 3-point play. Good pick. Inside, David Robinson got Garnett out of position. Garnett gets his 4th. David Robinson going to the free throw line.
Right now, it's coming down to offensive execution. Minnesota's come alive. That Chauncey Billups three-pointer from the corner got them back in it. They looked like they were maybe 1 bucket away from coming unglued. They're now executing very well, and San Antonio needs to respond on both ends. Talked all night about the defense, but it's unrealistic to think you're going to hold Minnesota in the low 30s. They're going to need to execute down the stretch, and that probably means make some free throws.
Admiral comes through in the clutch. Spurs back up by 6. David Robinson with all 4 of his points coming to the free throw line tonight. He'll go along with 6 rebounds. 3 assists as well. Garnett, basically their only option lately. The block, David Robinson on Todd Day, and he saves it on the sideline. Terry Porter back into the lineup, runs the offense.
Big-time defensive play. Great rotation by David Robinson. Not only blocks it, comes up with it.
Nick is out there for Terry.
Got fouled.
And now, David Robinson fouled by Alfonso Ellis.
This is great effort by David Robinson on the defensive end. You'll see the rotation. They do a good job moving the ball. That's not his man. David comes all the way out on the rotation, controls it, and then saves it.
That's the 4th team foul on the T-Wolves, so they are out of fouls now with 6:02 to play in the contest. 14 on the shot clock, inside of 6 left in the game.
That's the good news. Better news is going to be San Antonio's got to convert some of those free throws they're going to be shooting in the final 6 minutes.
Pick for Derek Anderson, and DA comes through. Derek Anderson with a big bucket. Spurs lead by 8. Nice pick, Tim Duncan.
Good answer when it was needed.
Garnett sliding through underneath. They go away from that side.
Yeah, they went to the wrong side.
Ball kept alive by Tim Duncan, out of bounds. It'll belong to Minnesota. Tough break. Another opportunity, second chance points when we come back for the T-Wolves.
Another offensive rebound. It goes down as a team rebound, but it was an offensive rebound. San Antonio hanging in with good offensive execution. A great 5:28 still left. As the Spurs cling to an 8-point lead. Well, if you're looking for free tickets to a Spurs game, don't miss the San Antonio Express News 2001 ticket giveaway. Pick up this Sunday's paper. All the details are in there. Your chance to come to a Spurs game absolutely free. Joel Myers, PJ Carlissimo back at the Target Center. Fresh 24 in the shot clock for the T-Wolves after the ball went out of bounds. Last touch by the Spurs. Spurs 41 free throw attempts, 15 misses though. Could be a different story, a double-digit advantage. But the Spurs still holding the T-Wolves to 37% from the field. You know where they're going. They're waiting for Garnett to come over to the strong side. Tim Duncan pops it away. Garnett gets it back. Go away from Garnett's side. They get it inside. And going to the free throw line. Ellis draws the foul. Good execution by both teams out of the timeout. Both of these coaches do a real good job coming out of timeouts with sets. Minnesota obviously wanted to go to Kevin Garnett. San Antonio recognized it, came with a good double team. But Minnesota, when they were reversing the ball, made a real good read. Anthony Peeler, instead of making the extra pass, which would have been a corner jump shot, located LaFonso Ellis down under, open against the rotation. 82% of misses there for the T-Wolves. Spurs trying to end a 5-game losing streak here at the Target Center. Get a big one off their back and take the edge, more importantly, in the season series. 2-1 edge. And win a back-to-back. Back-to-backs have been a problem for San Antonio all year, and they're looking at a number of back-to-backs down the stretch. A couple of big misses by Alfonso Ellis. 5 minutes left. Spurs try to go up by double digits once again. They're led by as many as 14. First couple of minutes of the fourth quarter. Derek Anderson, not close. Derek's got 20 though. Some huge buckets here as Todd Dayline drives one. And Garnett doesn't get the slam. He had position and couldn't finish. Spurs got to do a better job. DA got caught on top really with nothing to do. He's talking to Mark Wunderlich, the official. Spurs need to execute a little better than that. High pick and roll. David coming out for another one on the opposite side. Derek goes back to David. David jumping in the cross. That's a long reverse. Terry Porter on the move. Off the window. Doesn't get the roll. Great look, too. Great execution. Just didn't get it to go. Good look by Terry Porter. David Robinson with a good cross-court pass. Half-court game now. Final 4 minutes. Ellis inside against David Robinson. The step back. And he's got it to make it a 6-point game. Tough shot. Got it down low. 4 down is the call from Pop. Talked about execution. We're in the final 4 minutes. It's going to go through Tim Duncan. Inside of 10 on the shot clock. Daniels running to the free throw line for the open 15-footer. Antonio Daniels, big time. 8-point lead for the Spurs. 2 consecutive possessions of good ball movement and spacing yielded a good shot. 6 of 7. Antonio does it again. 14 points. He had 18 just a couple of games ago. Into the corner they go. Peter, tough floater. Anthony Peter. He's done it all his career though. Anthony Peeler can shoot the ball, and he's got the confidence to take them late in the game. Down to the 3-minute mark of a 6-point ball game.
Terry Porter on the double, has to hurry. Tim Duncan on the penetration. Tim Duncan kept it alive, but Ellis has it on the run, leading Brandon. Brandon got it to Ellis. Derek Anderson got a piece of the basketball. What a job by Derek Anderson at the defensive end. Spurs can hang on and let Tim Duncan get into the play, and there's a solid call. Timeout. TD really needed it behind the play. So he hustled all the way back. Derek Anderson had already come up with a deflection, though. What a stop. An advantage for the T-Wolves. Didn't pay off, though. Spurs by 6. We'll be back after this from Diamond Shamrock. Exactly what we expected. What a game. What a burger. What a challenge. 31-26. As PJ Carlesimo said, basically offset each other. So who else is going to step up? Well, Antonio Daniels has definitely stepped up here. 14 points on 6 of 7 shooting. Derek Anderson with 20 points. 12 for Terry Porter. 5 of 9 now. Maybe the possession of the game. They wanted to go high-low.
You did. You said they'd go high-low.
Derek Anderson doesn't get the roll. Alfonso Ellis with the rebound. Brandon on the move. Ball knocked away by Terry Porter. Diving Terry Porter. What an effort. Still plenty of time on the shot clock for Kevin Garnett. Going to the weak side. Garnett spinning. And Tim Duncan's got the rebound.
David Robinson with great help. You can beat one of the Twin Towers. You're not going to beat them both. The two of them did the job that time. Garnett did everything, but he couldn't finish.
And it wasn't even the block as Derek Anderson on the pick and roll. David Robinson will go to the free throw line. Boy, did he follow through on that roll. A long roll at that.
Excellent execution again. The Spurs have really come up big. 3 of the last 4 possessions. DA gets in, gets the help. David Robinson alertly cuts to the basket. DA finds him. Now another trip to the free throw line. David Robinson converted 2 a couple possessions ago.
Big guys have done so much. When they get to the stripe at this point of the game, you hope that their legs are there for them on the free throws. And David has hit 3 critical free throws over the last couple of minutes. But that was a big timeout for Greg Popovich. He saw his big guys needed it.
Both of the big guys showing the effects of a back-to-back and carrying this team. They needed the timeout, they got it, and they've responded on both ends.
Spurs by 8. Stop here could seal it. Brandon comes through. Minute 47 to play. Still only a 6-point lead for the Spurs.
Big-time
Nothing
players.
comes easy, partner.
Big-time players step up down the stretch.
Brandon's got 9.
Execution. Going to Tim Duncan's side.
He's locked up. Garnett. Derek almost lost it. Tim's got it. Quick reversal. Antonio with the shot clock down to 2. Antonio Daniels short. Derek Anderson keeps it alive to David Robinson. David gets it up. Can't get it to go, though. Zerbiak. They got Peeler on the opposite side. Instead, Ellis. And he lays it in. 4-point game.
Big offensive rebound and a great look inside. San Antonio couldn't convert. Minute to go. We've got some big possessions ahead.
Final 60 seconds. Still 10 on the shot clock. Terry Porter finds the crease. Tim Duncan from 16. Terry Porter tips it back. No, Garnett's got it. Brandon on the move. Peeler thought about it from 3-point range. It's a 4-point Spurs lead. Block on the side of the Spurs, but Brandon gets free. Wide open look. Nothing there. Derek Anderson's got the rebound, and he's clipped on the wing. 34.7 left, and Derek Anderson to the stripe. Percentage-wise, the best free throw shooter on the team, Derek Anderson.
When they needed the defensive rebound, San Antonio finally stepped up. It took a long time. Very uncharacteristic free throw shooting for Minnesota, 68%. They're number 2 in the NBA, over 80%. But right there, big rebound from DA on the weak side. He boxed out, he went up and grabbed it strong. He's got a chance now to make it a legit 2-possession game.
Will they get the roll? No. 8 of 10 at the stripe tonight. Still 34.7 in this league in eternity. Gets the second. 5-point Spurs lead. Timeout, Flip Saunders. And Minnesota Can the Spurs end the 5-game run in the wrong direction to the Target Center? We'll find out when we come back. Anxious moments for the Spurs and their fans trying to hang on to a 5-point lead. Forward outlook once again, PJ. Defense has been the catalyst.
I didn't think San Antonio could hold Minnesota under 38%. I thought low 40s would be enough to get it done, but Minnesota free throws, we knew they were going to be big. I didn't think this big. 45 free throw attempts from the Spurs, but they've only made 64%. Fortunately, Minnesota at 68. Remains to be seen whether the Target Center is going to stay unfriendly. It's looking right now like it has a chance to change character this evening.
After the timeout, T-Wolves will have it at the half-court line. Spurs have only turned it over 8 times so far in the contest, compared to 10 for Minnesota. So they have taken care of the basketball. Now, can they protect it and take care of the game?
Tough line to walk right now. You want to defend, but you do not want to foul.
Garnett, easy look inside, doesn't get it. Loose ball, Ellis. And David Robinson looks like he turned his ankle. Foul sends Terry Porter to the free throw line. Oh, boy.
Tim's laying on the floor. David's walking gingerly, holding on to his leg right now.
Well, maybe
it's his right knee, I think.
Did he clip a knee and crack somebody else where we've seen it before, bone against bone?
We'll see it right now.
Yes.
I think it was Kevin Garnett's right knee, hopefully just banged into his knee. I hope it was just like a
numbing effect, and we've seen it before.
Yeah. David looks to be in a lot of pain right now. Terry Porter, guy you want on the line in this situation. He can take it to a 3-possession game.
Terry Porter puts it down. Spurs by 6. Can ice it here? And we had Clarence Weatherspoon drive on the baseline at Cleveland, banged his knee right against Samaki Walker the same way. And Samaki said it just numbed him for a while, but he was okay. Samaki comes in for David.
You hope it's that. Will Sevening massaging that right kneecap right now, putting a little ethyl chloride, I think, on top of it. Appeared to be knee to knee.
26.1 to play. Terry Porter doesn't get the roll. Still the opening for the T-Wolves as the Spurs have missed 17 free throws tonight. Daniels all over Brandon. Spurs, though, with a foul to give. Was that their 4th team foul?
I don't think so.
Yes,
it was. I was going to say good foul even if it was, not to give him a 3-point shot.
Foul to give. Daniels knew it. And now Zerbiak will bring it in. Under 21 seconds to play. Popped up. They're going to call a foul on Tim Duncan. Incredible.
But you don't want to stop the clock, but 2 points is not what's going to beat you right now. You do not want to let them get a 3-pointer.
It boils down to making your free throws, because as soon as you bring it in,
they're going to whack immediately, but it's a 6-point game right now. That's why Spurs haven't been able to cash all of them, but they've cashed enough to keep themselves alive.
Garnett helping the cause, though, missing another free throw. 7 of 12 at the stripe.
Alfonso Ellis missed 2 big ones. Kevin Garnett now also contributes. Got Danny Ferry in. 1 to take care of the ball, 2 to shoot free throws.
So you've got some good free throw shooters in there. And you got to believe Tim Duncan's going to bring it in. You got 4 shooters in there with Tim. And Tim did a great job at the stripe tonight. 12 and 16. Garnett misses both. Oh, goes right under the Zerbiak. He blows the layup. Ferry on the opposite side. Derek Anderson, and Ferry collects it. He'll get fouled. He tries to draw the foul. Instead, Terry Porter, Antonio Daniels, and he blows the layup. But Tim Duncan's got it, and that'll do it. Huge win for the Spurs on the road. The start of 3 and 4. They could not ask for anything more tonight. Escape the Target Center with their first win in their last 6 attempts here, despite missing 17 free throws. Monster win. Well, defense wins for you, and you can afford to miss free throws when you get to the line as much as San Antonio did. Excellent, excellent win. They come in, they've got to play a back-to-back. Minnesota's here waiting on them. They come into a very difficult building, and people stepped up. We talked at halftime, who's going to step up? A lot of San Antonio Spurs answered that call in the second half. Double digits, Daniels, Porter, Anderson, and of course, Tim Duncan with another double-double, 26 and 12. Be right back to the Target Center. Spurs by 6. Another victory. The 11th over the last 12 games for the San Antonio Spurs, winning by 6 over the Minnesota Timberwolves. Spurs didn't panic. 8-point lead. Budweiser play of the game, the trap, and it didn't work. The trap, which Minnesota executes very well, but excellent offensive execution. Put it in the middle to Tim Duncan. He found Samaki Walker down underneath. Tim Duncan did it all tonight. Surprisingly, only shot 7 for 19 from the field, but
12 for 16. You talked about it down the stretch. 75% from the free throw line, 12 boards, another double-double. What else is new?
So under the category of go figure, you say the Spurs missed 17 free throws. Well, automatically you say, well, I guess Tim had a tough night at the free throw line. No, Tim Duncan didn't. Tim Duncan had a real good night at the free throw line. 12 of 16
He had a great
are
one.
Express News numbers.
Well, see, San Antonio makes 30. Minnesota only shoots 30. So free throws were the difference. Defense, unbelievable. 37% hammered on the boards, but they're able to overcome that because they took care of the ball. 8 turnovers is incredible.
Back-to-back. Don't have to talk to you about how big it is to sweep a back-to-back set. Now another back-to-back coming up. Toronto, Milwaukee, and then the Lakers back at home.
Even a tougher back-to-back. Toronto's won 3 in a row. They beat the Spurs in the Alamo Dome. Milwaukee playing as well as anybody in the East. And then you get home, and who's waiting for you? The Lakers. But the way San Antonio's playing, they're ready for it.
And another key, you're looking for those tiebreakers down the road. They already got 3 games up on the Utah Jazz. They've won that season series. Now they've taken 2 of the first 3 against the Minnesota Timberwolves with the 4th game back at the Alamo Dome. So a lot of things we can talk about how big this win was tonight for the San Antonio Spurs.